Welcome to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey from vision to reality. I'm Kelly Jackson, your guide on this path of self-discovery, transformation, and intentional living. Here, we explore everything from mindset shifts and personal growth to spiritual alignment and entrepreneurship, sharing insights, stories, and actionable wisdom to help you live a life in harmony with your dreams. Every episode will dig into what it means to not only dream big, but to actually consciously create the life you envision. Let's turn your dreams into real life. Hey guys, before we get started, I wanted to let you know that this episode is going to be for mature audiences. I realized that after I recorded it, so I'm adding this note in so that you can be mindful of that. This episode is not appropriate for young listeners, so mature audiences only. And be sure to, if you are listening to this episode, if you're tuning in and you hear something and you're like, I know somebody that needs to hear this, that would benefit from hearing this. Yes, share it. Share it, friends. Share it with someone who could benefit from tuning in. I love you. Let's talk about love. The kind that isn't celebrated on Valentine's Day cards. The kind that grows quietly, deeply, and beautifully within ourselves. This is the season of self-love, and it's just as romantic, just as meaningful as the love we share with someone else. We're stepping into Valentine's Day week, and for all my single people out there, I want you to know this episode is for you. It's a love letter to the stage of life where you're choosing yourself and celebrating your independence and finding power in solitude. Now, I've been single for over 8 years, and for more than 7 of those years, I was on a celibacy journey. So that's the better part of a decade of being single. And I know a little bit about the experience of being single. And I didn't just stumble into being single for this long. I chose it. And with that choice came the most transformative, empowering journey I've ever experienced. And I know that that journey was absolutely necessary. That solitude was absolutely necessary in order for me to become the version of myself that could enter into divine union with the man of my dreams. In this episode, we'll explore self-worth, self-love, and the beauty of solitude, and why being single truly is a superpower. And I'm going to sprinkle in some relatable humor, heartfelt moments, and a little bit of wisdom about what conscious relationships look like when they come from a place of wholeness. So why don't we start off with self-worth and choosing yourself. There's this meme, I guess if you call it, that I saw on social media once and I loved it. I remember it. It said, if them not choosing you means you chose yourself, you win. And some people need to hear that. I'm sure I needed to hear that at some points in my life too. guaranteed. So everything starts with self-worth. If you don't see your value, you'll settle for less than you deserve, whether in relationships or opportunities or even how you treat yourself. So everything starts with self-worth. And you really have to really know your own value. Because if you don't, you will settle. And I want to dive a little deeper into the courage it takes to walk away from relationships or situations that don't align with your worth. I'll give you an example of like a specific moment when I feel like I stood firm in my self-worth and how that decision shaped my path. And I was in a situationship, and it had been going on for the better part of a year, and I just recognized that this was not in alignment with who I had. Over the course of this situationship, I had began this intentional journey of self and was having some awakenings and was realizing that I was being called for something. I was being called to a path, and this wasn't aligned. If I continued to engage in this situationship, it wasn't aligned with this deeper inner work that I was being called to do. And even though there was pleasure or satisfaction or relief in this relationship, right? Because it was providing me some sort of distraction from reality, some sort of ego boost, some sort of obviously pleasure. It wasn't a relationship. There was no dating. It was strictly a sexual relationship. And it wasn't aligned. And so even though it was on again, off again, on again, and finally it was like when I finally recognized and stood firm in my own self-worth and said, I'm not going to engage in this anymore. This is not what I want. I'm looking at the big picture, not my short-term needs, not my, this is great to distract me. It's great to feel good for the night. It's great to escape or whatever, but it's not the long-term goal. And standing firm in that did shape my path, because after that, and look, that came on the heels of, as some of you have already heard this story, but after my divorce, I became promiscuous. I kind of repeated some patterns from when I was in college and dating before I met my ex-husband. And I had little to no self-worth and was repeating those patterns now after the divorce. And so that led to this relationship. And then it was like, I'm choosing me. And that's when I chose the celibacy journey. I was like, the constant in all of these relationships and situationships and everything, it's me. It's me. I'm the one. And I can't blame any of these men for the way I'm feeling in my unhappiness. I have to recognize that I'm the one. I'm the same. I'm the one that's the same in all of these situations. And so I want to look at me and I want to focus on me. And so that was a defining moment. Me walking away from that was fulfilling some sort of a sexual need when I didn't understand how to. Sexual energy is energy, and I just hadn't healed those wounds yet. I hadn't done the work yet. I didn't have the self-worth yet, and we'll come back to this more later. So that was a defining moment. What happens when we settle? We shrink. We dim our light. So I want to remind you that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary for living the life that you were meant to live. And every time you choose yourself, you're telling the universe, I'm ready for something better. I deserve something better. Self-love. Y'all know I'm your self-love bestie. At least that's what I say on my Instagram, right? Self-love, it's not just a buzzword. It's a practice, a commitment. And sometimes it's the hardest relationship to nurture, but it's the one that matters the most. And I stand by that because the relationship you have with yourself, it is the most important relationship because it impacts and influences every other relationship in your life, every opportunity, every experience, every encounter, every exchange. If you have a toxic relationship with yourself, if you're constantly speaking mean to yourself, being negative, putting yourself down, hating on yourself, you are not going to be walking through life with the same confidence and brightness as someone who has a really healthy, positive relationship with themselves, that is building themselves up and encouraging themselves. And you can do it. Keep going. So the reason it can be this relationship with ourselves, the reason it can be a hard relationship to nurture is because of all of the subconscious programming that we have that, and this can come from generations back, that is just, it is creating this narrative and this inner dialogue that is, if we're not aware of it, it's creating a lot of resistance, and it's really making it hard because we're just beating ourselves up and we are our own worst enemy. So it's really important that we become aware of this and we begin to nurture this relationship that we have with ourselves. And I want to also point out that self-love is an ongoing practice. It's not a destination. You don't I arrived at self-love. You're going to continue to pour into yourself. It's an ongoing thing. It's a lifestyle. And I want to share a story. So let's go from where we were. So I'm going to share a personal story about a time that I had to actively choose self-love, even when maybe it felt uncomfortable or lonely. And so I mentioned earlier, the previous example that I gave of standing firm in my self-worth when I said, I'm not going to continue to engage in this situationship and I'm going to explore celibacy journey. And that decision shaped my path for sure. Now, I didn't know at the time it would be a 7+ year celibacy journey, but again, here we were, there we were. I started it, and it wasn't until about a year into it, so about 1 year into the celibacy journey, and again, I go into detail in that celibacy episode. I think it's episode 6. I kind of started being like, is this what I want to do? I don't think my ego wanted to believe when I first started that it would even be 1 year of celibacy. And so when I kind of got to the 1 year point, I was like, well, I don't know. Is this still what I want? Am I do I want to date? Have I reached a point where, do I want a friends with benefits situation? I didn't know where I was. It was time to I wanted to discover where I was. I didn't know. And I was still, again, I had just really started the intentional journey of self right before starting the celibacy journey. And right around the same time, that's when I discovered yoga, meditation, breath work. So all of this was very new to me. Less than a year and a half, right? And so I'm a year into the celibacy journey, and I'm thinking maybe, and I don't know if I was feeling lonely. I was feeling something, and I hadn't sorted through, and I was trying to discover what it was. I was feeling uncomfortable. I was feeling, was it unfulfilled? I was feeling unsure. I didn't know. And so I kind of convinced myself that I wanted to maybe explore being sexually active again. And again, you can tune into that celibacy episode and hear the whole story about this. What I ended up realizing, though, after that exploration was that I came back to self-love. And I said, okay, I gave myself the grace to explore. And I came back because I realized I was very much still on this journey. I was very much still on the solitude, celibacy journey, the self-love journey. And even that exploration revealed a lot to me about my theme of consciousness at the time and where I was, and it was helpful. And hopefully when I share these stories, it's so that you can, who knows, relate to it in some way. But it's to remind you that sometimes we are going to reach a point in our journey where it does feel uncomfortable or lonely or something like that. And we have the choice to actively choose self-love anyway. Now, here's a little something fun that you can do is to create a love list of ways you can nurture yourself emotionally or physically or mentally or spiritually, and put it in the notes on your phone or write it in your journal and call it a love list. Or you might have some other title that you like. And list out these ways that you can nurture yourself. Again, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And feel into it. And I also want to encourage you to adopt one small daily practice of self-love that you haven't been already doing. Something new. And again, this is for my single friends. This can be anybody can be listening. Specifically, though, I'm speaking to you single friends. And one of the things, one of the things that, I guess this will be a good place to say. So this whole time of being single, I never felt single in the sense of I was always holding space. The idea was never to be single or celibate forever when I was on the celibacy journey. It was never, that was like not I wasn't trying to be a nun or a monk. It was just like I needed to create the space, the solitude to be clear, to channel my sexual energy and focus all of this energy in a different way, in creation, in creating art, and in dancing and poetry and writing and photography and all of the things, right? And it was really powerful. And so I was already doing all these things, and I was also already, so the vision was already divine union, divine feminine, divine masculine, divine union. But I wanted that to be healthy, integrated divine feminine, healthy, integrated divine masculine. And so it was like knowing that like attracts like. It's like if I want to attract the man of my dreams, I've got to become the woman of my dreams. And the woman of my dreams is me at my full potential. And I really need to clear some space to become me at my full potential. Clear any distractions. I want to focus my energy, that creative energy, that energy, everything is energy that was leaking out. I was allowing my sexual energy to leak out. I want to reclaim that power, and I want to bring it back to me. And I want to harness it in a way that I really am bringing to life some really big visions. Okay? And so this So the goal was never to be single forever. That was never the goal. But the goal was like to give myself as much space as needed, because when you energetically come into this space and maintain an energy, like everything aligns. I get all that. So this is this really exciting time. And so the whole time when I said I never really felt single, is because I'm always holding space for this relationship. Meaning I was never, even this entire time, let's say this 8 years of being single, I wasn't filling my life with so much that like there wasn't space for him to be in it. It was always doing things that there was always space. So what I'm saying here, when I'm all that to say this, I'll give you an example. One of the things, here's a space example. One of the things that you may or may not know. So I owned a landscape company for like 6 or so years, and I love it. And I love working outside and being in the dirt in my hands and everything. And so, as I mentioned, and I guess that was the last episode, the girls and I live on the same property as my parents. And one of the things that I enjoy doing and that I do, sometimes Dad does too, but for the most part I do, is mow the grass, weed eat, do the weeds, do all of the things. Now this is something that 100% I was always like, yeah, I have the space. It's something I enjoy. I like being in nature. It helps Mom and Dad out. And I enjoy doing it. It's fun. Like it's fun. And I have the space to do it because I wanted the space to do it because I know this is something, a phone call away to hire a lawn maintenance company to come and do that and to take that off my plate. Like it's a phone call away. However, I like to have that space, right? Because that's something that I'm like, oh, that's one example, right? Of something that when this man comes into my life, oh, look, I have space. Now I just take this off my plate. This thing I've enjoyed cleaning my own home, but one phone call away and having someone amazing come in and take that off your plate, right? And free up some of that time for you. But right now it's something I enjoy doing and I have the space for it because I'm not in a relationship. And this is a way of looking at things. And so I like to keep the space and hold that space for that relationship. And there's things in my life's not so packed. And there's things in my life that I am ready and willing to let go of. Things that I might be doing on my own that might seem hyper independent. No, like I'm just holding space. I enjoy doing these things and I'm holding space. It's not like I feel like I have to do it all, but I like having that buffer, right? Knowing that like, oh yeah, I just with a phone call, someone can take this over and it will free up space in my day, my week, right? To be with this person that I love so much. So one of the things I want to encourage you to do is to adopt one small daily practice of self-love. And so I want this to be something, I said all that to say this, you're creating space because this is for my single friends. And so what's something you can do that's a little self-love, like keep the space in your schedule, keep the space. If this is something you want to do, like find a way. What is, maybe you think if one day, I'm telling you right now, Case Kenny, I think, has a book called this, Single is Your Superpower. And I'm telling you, and it's true, right now, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Single is your superpower. And I'm willing to bet here that you are like me. The goal is not to be single forever. This is the season you're in. And so what I'm saying is, this little one small practice of self-love, maybe this could even be something creating a little space. This is a self-love practice that one day it's something you could share with your partner. Okay? So date yourself, spoil yourself, And if anyone asks who you're spending Valentine's Day with, just say someone amazing, because I know you're amazing. If you're listening to this, you're amazing. Okay, guys, solitude. It's not about being lonely. It's about being deeply connected to yourself. And when you embrace it, it becomes one of the most powerful gifts that you can give yourself. And so explore, if you think about it, how solitude allows for self-reflection and growth. Because when you are alone, you get to ask yourself the big questions. What do I want? What do I need? Who am I becoming? And you're doing this where you really get to focus on yourself without factoring this other person's needs or wants into it. Yet you've got to get really clear about who you are. And sometimes, like, I know I've got children, right? So we have our children. We do have other things to think about. We're not completely alone. I'm talking in the terms of relationships, though, and how important this solitude really is. And I know, guys, for going, like I said, the better part of a decade of being and embracing solitude has led to so many breakthroughs in my life. So many breakthroughs. And it is something, obviously, because I talk about it openly and I share about it, it's nothing that I feel shame about. And not at my age, not for this length of time, like none of it. Nothing is anything that I feel shame about. I am at so much peace with my choice because I know how much space it has created for me to align with my highest self and really become the woman that I was striving to become and that I continue to strive to become, because she's ever evolving. And the further I go down this path and truly recognize my own worth, and I love to say, raise your standards and the universe will meet you there. And this is true. Solitude is where you plant the seeds of your dreams. And it's where you reconnect with your intuition and let it guide you. And one of the great things about being single is that it gives you the opportunity to look in the mirror and understand in what ways were you judging yourself. And because you cannot love another person unconditionally until you know how to love yourself and you're capable of loving yourself unconditionally. And one of the ways that we are not loving ourselves unconditionally is by judging ourselves. And spending time in solitude for me and reflection and doing the inner work and journaling and meditation and all of the things has been to discover in what ways was I judging myself, and did I have that negative self-talk and those limiting beliefs and all of the things. And it's revealed being willing to be alone and to sit with yourself and to be with yourself without distracting yourself, and to do the journaling and dive into the subconscious and get to know yourself on a deeper level. Doing that work, it's not for the faint of heart. And because it's easy to not want to deal with that. It's easy to want to distract yourself. And so when you when you really embrace it, guys, and not with shame or not being in a hurry to go to the next thing, instead of, okay, let's say this. Let's talk about why being single isn't just okay, it's incredible. Because it's your time to build and to dream and to become unstoppable. And you really get to know yourself. Like, you really, really get to know yourself. And that self-awareness and healing and all of the things that come with it are going to, and all of the things that you accomplish during your single years, and maybe it won't be years for you, but I will say this, and I've said it before, and that was one thing that's like a non-negotiable for me. I said I would not date anyone who has not spent time in solitude. If someone I remember one time, I believe it was actually my birthday, and we had gone to dinner, and we had a group and gone to watch some live music. And y'all know me, I'm like, always, I like to video. I like to create content. I mean, I do it for fun. I do it for me. I love it. And so I was getting some shots of the band playing, and I'd gotten up close to the stage. And anyway, the gentleman had approached me and said, I noticed that you were into my friend up there on the stage, because I guess he saw me taking videos that were not, and said I could, I'd be happy to hook you up. He's single. He just broke up with his girlfriend 2 weeks ago. And I kind of chuckled on the inside. I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely not. Like, there's no part of me that feels at this stage in my life that feels interested in getting involved with someone who just got out of a relationship 2 weeks before and it's already ready to hop into something new. There's got to be some self-reflection there. It's where I'm at. And maybe if it's where you're at too, that's okay. And if I used to be at this, I've been at stages in my life where I probably date 3 different people in 1 week, right? So I'm just saying, it's okay. It's okay. Wherever you are, it's okay. I like to reflect on the freedom that being single has given me to explore passions and set goals and live life on my terms. And being single, it's not about waiting for the right person. It's about becoming the right person for yourself. And it's not about waiting at all. You are living, at least what I can tell you in my experience is this period for me of being single was never about waiting. It was about living like I have never lived before. And I mean, living and feeling what it feels like to live, and then realizing that single life meant my schedule was wide open for all of the things that make my soul light up, like spontaneous trips and creative projects and dance parties in my living room. And I got to discover all this without there being another person there to perceive me and perhaps project onto me or judge me. It was like I just got to discover, who do I feel confident being? Who am I becoming? Who am I? And then I got to embody that person and be that person, to the point that I feel so confident in who that person was and is, that I'm living as my most authentic self. And that is my vibration. And that is my point of attraction. And that is what he recognizes when we meet. Now, I want to talk a little bit about conscious relationships in the next chapter. And when the time comes to share your life with someone else, it should never feel like a compromise of your worth or your values. It should feel like an expansion of everything that you have already built within yourself. And so I want you to reflect on how conscious relationships are rooted in mutual respect and alignment, and prioritize communication and emotional intelligence and being seen and being heard. And guys, I want to remind you that all of these insights that you are receiving on through self-love and your solitude, your journey of being single, they are preparing you for deeper and healthier connections. Because the best relationships aren't about two halves becoming whole. That whole, you complete me. No. They're about two wholes creating something extraordinary together. Your single years aren't a detour. They're your main event in lots of ways. They are where you grow and thrive and discover your power. So this Valentine's Day, don't look at what's missing. Look at everything you have gained by choosing yourself. And I want to encourage you to reflect on your own journey. Like, get your journal out and do it in your notes on your phone. What is one thing that I've learned about myself in this season of singleness? And if y'all want to share it with me, share it with me. I would love to hear. I could talk this all day. So send it to me on Instagram or something like that. What's something that you've learned about yourself in this season of singleness? Maybe it's something that surprised you. Maybe it's something that you're like, man, I am resilient as AF. Or who even knows? Maybe you discovered a hidden talent that you didn't know you had, or a passion or a hobby. You revisited something. Because sometimes we can kind of lose ourselves in relationships. If we've been in a relationship for a long time, we can lose ourselves a little bit. And so, and just like I mentioned earlier, that's a non-negotiable for me. I could absolutely would have no interest in getting involved with someone who just was in one relationship after another, who just could not be single. You know, it was like, and look, I'm not saying like 2 months and then they're in no, like you got to spend a little more time than that. I'm not saying it has to be a 7-year celibacy journey. Trust me, I get it. That's, lengthy, but something. And look, that was my calling. That was one that I didn't read the fine print when I was signing up for this tour of Earth School. Okay? I didn't read the fine print on that one. But look, I signed up for it and I accomplished my mission. And I'm a better person because of it. And yes. So I want to say that I want to suggest a little Valentine's Day self-celebration ideas. Maybe like a little cozy night in, or a creative project. Like make it a Pinterest night. Go to Hobby Lobby or some other, wherever you live. Is Hobby Lobby nationwide? I don't know. I live in Louisiana. We got them here. But some sort of craft store, Michael's, and do a creative project. Or upcycling, like that would be fun. And maybe do something for other people. Like I love painting rocks and leaving them out. So maybe you could make little, love themed things and leave for other people, or write a love letter to your future self. There's things that you can do, right? And I'm not saying that this is what you were going to do, but what I'm telling you is don't sit around feeling sorry for yourself if you're single on Valentine's Day. I'm not saying that's what you were going to do. I'm just saying don't do that. Don't do it. And if you know somebody who's looking like that's what they're going to do, encourage them to not do it either, right? Just kind of like what we're talking about. This is a really beautiful season of your life. And maybe go get that Case Kinney book, Single is Your Superpower. It might be a journal even better. So you are love. You are whole. You are enough right here, right now, exactly as you are. And I love you. And I hope that you're enjoying this season of your life. It is preparing you. Everything you're going through is preparing you for exactly what you've asked for. And I want you to know your worth and do not settle. Raise your standards and the universe will meet you there. And explore this season of being single with curiosity and excitement and joy and gratitude. I know I'd shared with someone, I was cooking and had this song. It's like a country song, and I think well, I know the song is actually singing about children. And it says, you're going to miss this. You're going to want this back. You're going to wish this hadn't gone by so fast. These are the good days. And something like that, ... And when I was cooking and that song popped into my head, and it was this montage, right, of me and my partner enjoying life together and doing all of these things. And it was this little feeling of nostalgia of missing some of the beautiful moments of being single. And even though the goal is not single forever, and even though the divine union is incredible and amazing and wonderful and beautiful, there are some things about the season of being single that are beautiful and sacred and divine as well. And so the whole you're going to miss this, I'm just saying, just like they say with the babies when they're little, oh, this season goes so fast, the newborns, oh, you're going to miss this. Get all those little baby smells, get all the little cuddles and hear the little coos that they make, and because it's fleeting. And so just want to remind you of this too. If you're in the single season, the season of being single, be in the moment, be in it, embody it, embrace it, love it. Love the things that are beautiful about that season of your life. Okay, because there's a lot there. There's a lot of really yummy, juicy, incredible things there. And look, that whole season of celibacy was like my best sex life, because I got to know myself and my sexual self and my sexual energy on a level like never before. Because there wasn't a partner there, and I was not willing to, just because I was not being sexually intimate with another person, did not mean I wanted a life that there was no sensuality, sexuality, pleasure. And so that period of time ended up unlocking worlds that I had never even knew existed before. Because at this point I had again began a daily yoga, meditation, breathwork practice. And so I started understanding energy and my body and that mind-body connection and chakras and energy. I mean, I don't know what else to say, and breathwork and how you can move energy through your body and all of these things. And understanding, again, tune into episode 6, I believe, the celibacy journey episode, and there's more about this. And there's a lot that I didn't cover yet that who knows when I'll even decide to get into that. But what I'm saying is this is a really special time in your life. And there's lots for you to explore, and there's lots for you to discover. And you don't have to be in a hurry to jump into a relationship. This is a really important period on your journey for you're being called to give yourself this space to do whatever you need to do, right? To prepare yourself for what it is that you've asked for, because it's yours and it exists vibrationally. It's already there. It's just now you got to come into alignment with it. And guys, that's the work. That's the self-love work, right? The self-worth, love, the reflection. I love you. Happy Valentine's Day. Celebrate it in whatever way makes your soul happy. Certainly with joy and love in your heart, not any kind of anger or bitterness, because that's not the vibe. I love you. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful within you. Remember, every step you take towards your vision counts, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a second to hit that subscribe button or leave a review. That would be amazing. Or share the podcast with someone who's ready to bring their dreams into reality too. And if you're looking to dive deeper, connect with me on social media at Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, or at BE_what you want. Or visit dreameditthenreallifedit.us for more resources on aligning your life, business, and dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep manifesting your dreams into real life. Love you, friends.